They called him Clown, but this was just a nickname. Clown was nobody's fool. His proper name was Clown McCafferty. He'd been in the Great War, still had German shrapnel in his arm. A grateful government had given him a soldier settlement farm, and with hard work, it provided a small living for Clown and his wife Bet. Their only son Julius died at Tobruk, and his son Dave became a priest. Against Bet's better judgment, Clown got himself tied up in politics. He was well thought of enough, but he didn't have the killer instinct. Now Clown is dying, and the state premier himself is coming to pay homage. The story is called Clown McCafferty. It's by Barney and it's from Australian Short Stories number 34, published by Pesco Publishing in 1991. I'm Kim Dodsworth, Queensland storyteller.
I'm on the way out, says Clown. I'm finished. You shouldn't bother.
Don't be silly, she says, leaning across him to tug the blanket. It's all she can do to pull herself back again. You got a mile or two in you yet. Now come on. She slips an arm in behind his skinny shoulders. Upsy daisy, that's better now, isn't it? And holds him there while she pats the other pillow into position. What a pair of old crocs we are, she says. He looks up at her. You shouldn't bother. And who else, if I don't, I'd like to know. Sal said she'd be a bit late this morning. She's got to go to the shops. Come on now, eat up. I'll bring you your toast fingers and a cuppa in a minute.
Only 2, and no crusts,
he says, holding up a wasted hand. 2 thin fingers stuck up. She looks at them and down at the face on the pillow. It was hard to believe it belonged to the same old Clown. That's rude, she says with a grin. You must be getting better, giving me that kind of sign. He looks at his hand, stuck up there like it was, and back at her. He grins a bit too.
If I turn 'em the other way, he says, it's the victory sign.
For the first time for a while, she thinks, he's going to go. He's worse than he was yesterday. Perhaps Kevin will cheer him up a bit. Then perhaps he won't. That'd be better, she says. Anyway, what's wrong with that? We're going to win, aren't we? She puts the tray on his lap. Sleep all right? She says. Same old question. He looks down at the porridge and back at her.
All right, he says.
Same answer. Now eat up. Your porridge will be getting cold. She tucks a hand towel into the neck of his pyjamas. I'll be back in a minute. Then remembers the window. She opens it a bit and hooks the curtains right back. It's going to be a good day, she says, standing there at the window, staring out at the countryside, paddocks reaching right out to the hills. It's going to be a good day, as if she was talking to herself, that second time. A sort of prayer. He watches her hobble out of the room, gives a bit of a sigh, looks down at the porridge. Once he could have eaten 2 of those bowls, full right to the top. Now just a couple of decent spoonfuls in the bottom, and he couldn't care if he didn't have any.
I didn't feel like any this morning, love, he said,
when she came in with the tea and toast. She frowned, then smiled. Come on, Clown. Don't think I'm going to all this trouble for nothing, and you look a lot better than you did yesterday.
I feel pretty good, except I'm not hungry, he says.
It's eating that'll make us better, she says. She sits on the chair beside him and starts to feed him, teaspoonful at a time, brushing his underlip each time with the side of a spoon. He's just a baby, she thinks. And you're going to eat that toast. It's got a little bit of your favourite blackberry jam on it. Sally brought us over a pot she made yesterday. She said, this'll cheer the old bugger up. That's what she said. She talks all the time, not really thinking what she's saying, and her thoughts keep bumping into what she's talking about. What's the use, Clown, honey? Better if we could both give up. I feel just so damn tired myself. If there was a flash of lightning, anything that blew us up,
I'd make a dive to hold us tight together and smile while I says amen. Bet, you're a bloody idiot. You're supposed to be cheering him up. And something else, she says. I didn't tell you last night. Thought you wouldn't sleep if I did. But guess who rang to say he's coming to see you this morning? Did you tell whoever it was? I don't want to see him. I don't either, Bet, unless it's Dave. It's not Dave, is it, Bet? Her eyes lit up with the thought. Makes her feel terrible. If only Dave could. No, she says. It's not Dave, Clown Love. I wish it was. Only another week, maybe, and Dave will be home. Or less. A few days, maybe. Sally had a letter from Colombia a week ago. Don't write, David said. I should be home in 2 to 3 weeks. I leave here next week for a short stopover in Nicaragua. They had heard so many reports. Strikes, minor revolutions, cocaine wars, priests murdered, and that bit on the end of his letter depressed them. There's so little we can do on a limited budget. You feel so helpless, fighting against all the forces of evil. There's so much greed, so much poverty. If it's not Dave, who is it? Clown says. The Premier. His eyes screw up. His face tightens as if a sharp neuralgic pain has hit him down one cheek. Him? What would he want of me? Advice. What advice could he want from me? I'm long past giving advice. I think he's in a corner, Clown. He said he needs your opinion. Tell him to write a letter. Hey, this is not the old clown McCafferty I married. This is not my old pin-up who said once that nothing would ever stop him helping those who need help. That's what I meant. That's what you did, love. Nothing ever stopped you. I took the hard way. Not like Kneebone. Bought his way, all the way. And now he's run out of people to buy or cash to buy him. Politics, you can have it. I don't want it. I never did. It was you I wanted. I was never so happy as when Kevin beat you for pre-selection. You what? Don't get excited, silly. You know what I mean. I could see at least. I could sense what was going on. And you, I could never understand how blind you were. Kevin's all right, you used to say. Anyway, that's long over, thank God. Even you've got to admit. Politics, not only here, everywhere. Politics is rotten. Politics is all right. As politicians, there should be a way to weed 'em out, the rotten ones. Leave rotten apples in a box, and what happens? There should be a way. Instead of culling out the Kevin Kneebones, they're left to send the whole lot rotten. I tell you... Hush, Clown. You mustn't work yourself up. Look, if you like, I'll tell him you don't want to see him. Now come on. You haven't eaten your toast and your tea'll be cold. Clown McCafferty is dribbling saliva down his chin. His eyes are red. His whole face is shrunken. She moves the chair out of the way and sits down on the bed beside him. She puts an arm around his shoulders. You poor old darling. Your Bet's a bit of a harebrain at times, isn't she? She should have known. It's too late to stop him now, but I'll tell him when he comes that you don't want to see him. And you've been listening to Clown McCafferty by Barney Roberts. I'm Kim Dodsworth. I'll be bringing you the second and final part of the story this time next week. Hope you can join me. Till then, bye for now. Hello everyone, I'm Kim Dodsworth, Queensland storyteller. Last week we began our story Clown McCafferty by Barney Roberts. Today we have the second and final part. First, let's refresh your memory. They called him Clown. Now this was just a nickname. Clown was nobody's fool. His proper name was Clown McCafferty. He'd been in the Great War. Still had German shrapnel in his arm.
A grateful government had given him a soldier settlement farm, and with hard work, it provided a small living for Clown and his wife, Bet. Their only son, Julius, died at Tobruk, and his son, Dave, became a priest. Against Bet's better judgment, Clown got himself tied up in politics. He was well thought of enough, but he didn't have the killer instinct. Now Clown is dying, and the state premier himself is coming to pay homage. The story is called Clown McCafferty. It's by Barney Roberts, and it's from Australian Short Stories number 34, published by Pesco Publishing in 1991. I'm Kim Dodsworth, Queensland storyteller. She feels his head snuggle up against her neck. She looks out the window. From where she's sitting, she can see right across their world, the farm that they'd made together. "It's ours, Bet," he had said all those years ago. "If it's hard work what's needed to make it into something, then I'm ready to go." "And so am I," she had said. He was invincible. Even the bits of German shell he carried in his arm from the 1418 war didn't stop him. Parts of the same shell that had busted his ribs and sent him back to hospital in England for 8 months. "It's what saved my life," he told Bet once, "that Jerry shell." Clown McCafferty, his proper name was Cluin, had been allotted the farm in appreciation for services rendered as an Anzac. He was the only one of 6 in the district with soldier settlement farms who had managed to make a living of sorts, who had not sold out. In fact, he had been able to buy out 2 of his neighbours when prices went up in 38. He had done it all for Julius. Bet had given him one boy, a strong, black-headed boy delivered by caesarean section. They'd called him Julius. It was Clown's little joke. Julius was killed at Tobruk. He was married 2 days before he went overseas, and Sally had Dave the day Julius was killed. They didn't tell Sal for a week after they got the news. When she heard, she said, "David's never going to go to a war. He's going to be a priest." Which is what happened, except that Father Dave decided to spend his life working for an overseas aid organisation. Bet is looking out the window. It's as if someone is flicking through a series of disconnected pictures. She's holding him, rocking ever so slightly backwards and forwards, holding the head up against her neck and shoulder with her left hand. She sees him ploughing away over in the bush paddock, clearing up bits of rubbish here and there, making fires. She's there with him, has taken him his lunch. There's a spurt of flame as some dry rushes catch. They put their arms up to shield their faces while they watch. She sees his face and neck and arms a shiny bronze. She sees him ploughing, bent over the long handles of the swing plough, looking back at the headland at the dead straight furrow. He was always proud of that. She watches him sowing grass seed from a seed basket, a cascade of moths always in the air and falling gently and evenly to settle on the firm earth. She sees him sawing those huge logs with a cross-cut saw, backwards and forwards, push and pull, eating away at the sweet white wood, leaving a long line of chips at his feet. And wherever she sees him, there not far away is Julius, doing something his father is doing, or working at his own thing, sometimes riding on the back of one of the horses. Then later on there's David. Clown is everlasting, she used to think. The 2 of us, everlasting. The 2 of us and Sally and David. He keeps on coming home. Now what? Was it all futile? She stares out the window at her past, at her future. She has this weight weighing on her shoulder. It had been good, except for the war which took her only child, and those years when Clown got tied up in politics. He should never have taken it on. There were too many smart people out there to beat him. Not that Ben Chifley had any more education than Clown, and he'd finished up PM. But Clown had a problem. He trusted people. "Never kick a dog unless he bites you," she heard him telling Julius once. "And he won't generally bite you unless he sees you're scared of him." Bet can see through the window, in the distance, what they always call the calving paddock. There's a bit of a swamp surrounded by a lot of scraggly tea trees. She's been through those trees dozens, probably hundreds of times, looking for a cow calving, or for a calf one of them has hidden. She's there with Clown.
She's driving a cow and calf while Clown is carrying another, too weak to walk. She feels a slight movement of the head on his shoulder. A long intake of breath. It could almost be a child sobbing. She strokes the hair, gently stroking from the top of his head to his neck. His skin is cold to touch. "All right, Clown," she says. She's afraid to look at him, afraid of what she'll find. Tell him I couldn't wait," he says. His voice is quiet, normal. Bet straightens up. She turns her head to look at him, still holding him around the shoulders. His head has fallen sideways against a pillow. She looks deep into the eyes focused on some distant point. It could be the watery blue sky above the bush reflected in them. He's smiling. Carefully, she lifts his head and settles it upright in the folded pillow. She goes back into the kitchen. She sits at the table. She has a choice of looking through the open back doorway, past the 2 pairs of gumboots, the chook bucket, and the broom leaning against the veranda wall, looking down the vegetable garden, or she can look through the window for another view of the farm and the road in, and the back end of the 10-year-old Holden jutting out of the open lean-to garage. She sees the glint of sun on glass as a car turns up their drive. She remembers that other time when she watched an A-model Ford come bouncing over the ruts, and Clive Cameron and a mate of his, what was his name? Doesn't matter anymore, came up to ask Clown to have a go for the federal seat.
"The party needs your sort, Clown," Clyde said. "I'll think about it," Clown told him.
And she had talked him out of it. "Don't, Clown," she urged him. "I'm no good as a Polly's wife." And he had listened. Bet stands up. She feels shaky on her feet. She goes in through the door, closes it behind her, goes down the passage into their bedroom, lets the curtains flop across the window. As she does so, she sees the front end of a government car come into the yard. She peers through a crack. It's Kevin, all right. He gets out of the car, looks at the old dog, which is barking dutifully without emotion. He gives a quick brush to his suit, checks the handkerchief in his top pocket, and runs a comb through his hair. Bet kicks off her slippers, manipulates Clown's body down into a sleeping position, and gets into the bed beside him. She threads her arm in under his neck and closes her eyes. The dog has stopped barking. She hears footsteps and a knock on the back veranda. She listens as someone comes into the kitchen.
"Are you there, Clown? Are you there, Bet?"
More footsteps.
"Anyone home? It's me, Kev."
She listens as the steps go out the back and around the side of the house. She hears them stop for a moment outside their room, then go on. She hears the car start up and move off.
Well, that was the second and final part of our touching and beautiful story, Clown McCafferty, by Barney Roberts. I'm Kim Dodsworth, Queensland storyteller, signing off. I'll be back again this time next week with another short story of quality for your enjoyment. Till then, goodbye for now.